Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we are continuing with the frontal air intake modifications to the twin-turbo Nissan 370 GT. In the last couple of episodes, we made up all the ducting for the intercooler, the oil coolers and everything to channel the air into a much better position where we can make better use of it. And that's worked out really good, folks. So I've just finished doing a whole heap of testing on the car. I've put quite a few Ks in it. I don't know if you can notice, but there's dead bugs splattered all across the front of the bar there and everything. It's been out on some really good drives in varying temperatures for varying periods of time on different roads, back streets, highways, you know. And even though the results are anecdotal, it's the overall trends that really matter. And I can tell you that it's very obvious by watching all the temperatures that I'm able to monitor that the ducting I built has had a substantial impact on reducing not only overall temperatures but temperature recovery times. It's honestly worked beyond my expectations. So as far as I'm concerned, that area there, mate, she's all done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm moving on to down here, which is the brake duct areas. Now, I've opened these up. They're normally closed off from the factory, and I've opened them up because that's where my air intakes. There's a pod filter behind each brake duct, and, you know, obviously intakes to the turbos there. And because of all that piping and everything that's in there, it's also created a similar situation that we had in the very front, which was that air not only goes where we want it, but it goes where we don't want it to go as well. So that's what I'll be tackling next, folks, is directing the air in those brake ducts to what we want and eliminating the air from the areas that we don't want to get it into. I'm also going to try and incorporate some brake ducting in with the air cleaners and see what else I can sort of fabricate while we're in there. But I'll definitely be enclosing those areas to stop additional airflow into the inner guard areas and back into the engine bays through here, which now happens due to everything that I've done. So I'll get the wheels off, get it on the hoist, get the front bar off again, and we'll start to look seriously in that area at what we've got and what we can do with it and what I'm trying to achieve. Alright folks, I'm back. You can see the front bar's off. There's our previous work. This is how we're working on here. I've got the inner guards sitting in there so I know where the area is at the back. So what I'll do is I'll work to that back area, and the cardboard templates that I make, I'll make up short. And then we'll take the inner guard off, put the front bar on, and then fill those in from the back side to match the front side. So that way we get a really nice fit. Now, I've made a bit of a start on it, folks. So I'll just pull this off. That's enough of that. And we'll see where we're at. Alright, so this is the issue, folks. There's a big hole up in here that leads up into the inner guard and into the engine bay through here. So as this pressurizes with air, not only does it go into the air intake here, which is fantastic, we've got a nice pressurized cold air intake, but we've got all this extra air coming into the vehicle. Now you only want enough air entering the front of the vehicle that you need to use for stuff, because anything that goes in has to come out. And generally any air that is ingested by the vehicle into the engine bay comes out under the car. That creates lift, which is something you definitely do not want. So therefore you want to minimize the amount of air that's going into the car. Obviously you want to make use of anything you can. Anything else, you don't want it. You want to completely exclude it. So what we're doing here, folks, is I've got a couple of tricks up my sleeve. And this is actually going to have three functions. So I've already started on a bit of a cardboard template, and I'll just position that right now. Alrighty, so this is what I've started on here, folks. Just got to kind of work this in. So obviously this is going to box in our air cleaner like that. You know, bloody fantastic. So it'll just sit there, it'll be good. Wants to fall down, folks, without a clamp on it, but you get the idea. So that'll basically sit there. Like I say, I'll finish the front off into the bar so it works nice and neat with the opening. There it goes. But what I also have going on here, folks, is I want to create some brake ducts. I want to duct the front brakes because I planned on doing a little bit of track work with the car when it's all finished. But because I've used up this air intake here for this, then I don't have anything that I can run directly into some brake ducting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the back of this in here, and I'm going to cut out a hole in the back there, which there is almost no room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a square hole or a rectangular hole in the back. It's got to go kind of slightly round a bend and then transition into a circle that's 2 inch, because I'm running 2 inch brake ducting. So that's going to be really tricky. There's no room because this charge pipe here is directly behind that, and there's almost no room. So that's why I can't just run some 2 inch pipe through there, and it has to exit in a certain position, which is really hard to get. So not only is this piece going to be sort of finished off and boxed this in, it's also going to have a brake duct incorporated into the back of it. Now the third thing is I don't have a windscreen washer reservoir, folks. The windscreen washer reservoir was removed because it normally sits here. There's no room for it. All the piping gets in the way of where it was. Just everything is just not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a custom washer reservoir out of some aluminium sheet, and it's going to go sort of in here. There's a bit of room in behind this area here upwards and sort of across that I can get probably, I don't know, maybe a litre or something in there. That's all I need. Just something to give me some water that I can use. I don't mind topping it up all the time. Not an issue as long as I've got some water. I had a bit of an issue, folks, when I was on my last drive the other day in this thing. I went out for like a full day trip, lots of driving, and I hit a really big grasshopper on the windscreen right in my field of vision when I was going quite fast, and the thing splattered everywhere. And because I didn't have any washer reservoirs, it was quite dangerous. I had to get off the road really fast and clean it up, you know, like there was just no way to... If you hit the wipers, it would have been worse. It would have just smeared it everywhere and I would have had absolutely no vision. So it's really brought to my attention the fact that it would be really good to have, you know, some fluid. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough that if I'm ever in a situation like that again, then, you know, I can sort it out. But this hose here is in the way. This is one of the power steering oil cooler hoses. But I've drilled another hole up in through here, and I'm going to relocate that. I've already relocated this myself. It came out, I don't know where it came out. The power steering cooler was somewhere else initially. So I'm just going to move this out of the way so it makes it a little bit easier for me to do the washer reservoir. So I'll get rid of that and that. As you can see, folks, there's quite a bit involved in making this up. I'll just pull this off because it keeps falling down. So there it is, folks. That's the journey that I'm embarking on, and we've got exactly the same thing minus the washer reservoir to do to the other side. I'm in the same boat here with this this area here to get it through for the brake ducts, but yeah, no washer reservoir. I'll pull this back out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I've got to come out right on the bottom of this. Just get rid of this guy, and you can see this is where I've got to sneak through. In this spot here, and it's a real pain in the bum. We'll see. Actually, I might be able to sneak through there in between it and then go through and then drop down and go along. I've got to come out at the bottom of this on the back side. It's the only place where I've got clearance. When the wheels turn on full lock at full droop, that area there is below where the tyre is. If I move up any higher, the tyre when it's turned will hit on the brake ducting. So once I get past that sort of corner, it's all good. But that initial spot, I know where I've got to come out, and I've just got to work to it. So I'm sure I can do something, but it's just, I know it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. Stuff like this always is, folks. But wish me luck. I hope you stay tuned for this, because it's going to be probably a little bit stressful. It's going to be a little bit stressful. And you may hear me swear. I apologise in advance, folks, but it may happen. So I'll get a bit more done on this template, and I might even make up the one for the other side. You guys don't need to see that. Seeing one's good enough for you, you know, it's the same thing. So I'll get into it, and I'll be back. Alright, folks, welcome back. I've got a little bit more done now. What I've been focusing on is my washer fluid reservoir, which is this guy in behind here. So we'll get this guy off and we'll take a bit of a look at it. So this is the makings of my washer fluid reservoir. I've tried to take up any available space that I have there. And can I get it out through there? No, I can't get it out that way. I'll just pull the inner guard off, folks, and I'll give you a quick look at it. So this is it here, folks. I've taken up any space that I can. It goes up a little bit as well, and I'll show you how it's going to attach and stuff. So that's sort of what I've come up with there. It's not completely finished yet, but you can see it's quite an intricate shape, but it will give me quite a bit of volume to hold washer fluid. And you can see even the original has some quite intricate shapes in it in order to make it fit. It's kind of flat across the back, but I don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So this is the shape that I've come up with, and I'm going to try and incorporate the original motor and everything for it, just so that it's easier to replace it if anything ever goes wrong with it. It's just the standard washer motor that came with the vehicle. That way there's no wiring plugs to change or anything like that. Hopefully I'll be able to incorporate it into this. The mounting for the original one isn't anything sort of spectacular, but you can see I'm almost there with it, folks, and even though it looks pretty complicated, it's really not going to be that hard to fold up and then weld, and I should be able to use the original filler neck running into it. This section that I've sort of got here, as weird looking as it is, I'm going to create a opening here to put the original filler neck in. I'll probably have to bring a bit of round tube up, and the original filler neck should just be an O-ring fit into the top of that. Hopefully. We'll see what happens as it starts getting made up, but that's how I've tried to work it. So I guess we'll see, but you can see it's coming along. So I figured I might actually get this one done first, just because once this is finished it'll really give me the space that we have left, and rather than make the other piece up first and then try to make this fit into it, because the other piece is fairly simple, if I make this up and then I just modify the block off plate with what's left, as long as I know I've left plenty of room for the pod filter in there, then I should be sort of good to go. But man, I've got a whole lot of hours in this, folks. You wouldn't think so for just a piece of cardboard, but I've added bits and cut bits off and changed angles just to make it fit up really nice. And what I've also done with it, folks, is I've worked out how to make use of the original mounting tabs for the original washer bottle. You can see there's a mounting point here, there's another one on the end there, and I've just got to create one here, probably with a riv nut, and just weld some tabs onto this, and it'll be able to mount up really securely. And then on the underneath of this I'll put some tabs in a couple of places, and I'll be able to use those tabs to then mount the enclosure for the pod filter. So I think we'll get this one finalised, and then I'll start folding it up out of aluminium, and we'll have a bit of a look at that. Alrighty, wish me luck. Right, folks, I've started making up some patterns from this washer bottle cardboard template that I've got here. So you can see I have all these pieces, which I've made up from all of the faces on that piece. So like this, you can see this is A. I've got all the edges marked here, so you can see this says joins B, joins D, you know, joins F, all this sort of stuff on it and what it is. So basically I've made these by just holding pieces on each face and marking them and sort of rolling them around and all that sort of thing. Often you've probably seen me just completely disassemble the template, but because of the complexity of this I would have lost track of it too easily if I sort of cut it into sections and try to use it to make the templates, whereas I'm better off just keeping this in one piece as a reference, making up pieces off it everywhere, and then just cutting all those individual sides and trying to sort of build it from there. The reason these have got tape on them, this is just plain old A4 printer paper, and what I've done is I've taped them together just to match the size of the aluminium sheets that I have, and that was just to help me know what I was working with as far as the size of the templates that I'm making, whether or not I could sort of keep going with a piece, like if there was an extra piece I could have put on here to get more out of it, or whether, you know, I was trying to get the sort of most that I had out of the sheets. So at least now I can kind of lay these out and try and work out what I can fit where, you know, like whether or not I can fit, you know, a certain amount of pieces, what I'll get out of each sheet, you know. Try and maximize the pieces. So that's what I'll do now, folks. I'll start marking around these, transferring them onto the aluminium sheet, and once they're all kind of marked out, I'll start bending them up. What I'll actually probably do, folks, is because of the complexity of this shape, once again, I'll probably start the first few, bend them up, and possibly tape them together, and check the next template on what I've already got before I go cutting that piece out, just because it's very hard to accurately get all the pieces off this. I'll see, like it'll be good, like it'll all sort of come together, but I don't want to paint myself into a corner where one of my templates, because of the irregularities of the shape, has ended up too small. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll just check it as I go. So anyway, folks, that's what I'm going to do. Next thing is to turn this hideous looking thing into an aluminium reservoir. Alright, I'll go away again, folks. I'll get a few sheets cut out, and we'll maybe have a little bit of a look how it's going together. Welcome back, a little bit of progress. I've cut out A, B and C and done a couple of folds in them, and I've taped them together. So this is what I have here, folks, in aluminium sheet. So it's A, B and C, and you can see that is the sort of starting formation of this. And so far I think it's looking pretty good. There's a few little minor trims and stuff that I have to make, which is always the way with this sort of thing as you go. So I'll keep persevering, folks. I'll get the next few pieces cut out. I'll make a few little adjustments to this and kind of tape it up. So this is the plan, folks. You just kind of use whatever you can to sort of tack it together, rather than using welds, because obviously if you have to pull something apart at some point, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. So I'll get a few more bits cut out, I'll tape it all together, and we'll have another look at it, folks. So hopefully I'll get it mostly in one piece, and then I can start putting a few tack welds on it before we sort of weld it out completely and keep moving forward with it. So you can see it's just a matter of, you know, as I said, make a template, get some patterns off it, start copying it out in aluminium sheet. Obviously it's a complex design. We only had a limited space. It's hard to make something with any volume that fitted into the area, so we had to try and do all these twists and turns just to get the most volume that we could with the unit. So I'll carry on, folks. I'll persevere. As I say, a few more bits, we'll have another look. A bit more progress, folks. We now have this, which is basically this, but made out of aluminium sheet. So it's yeah, quite a complicated shape to make, not your average sort of a thing. So next thing I guess I'll do is just check the fit on the car, and then what I'll do after that is I will completely disassemble it and clean up all the edges on all the cuts, because these are just straight off the bandsaw. So I'll flatten all these and file them and everything, just so that when it's welded there's very little chance of any swarf being inside it. And then I've got to make the penetrations in it, which I'll probably do before it's finished welded, because you know, the air will need somewhere to get out while it's being welded. But I'll get it tacked together, and then I might sort of pop a hole in it. I'm going to use the factory washer motor here, the factory Nissan washer motor. It's going to sit in the front here. This is basically the front of the vehicle here on this side. So that's where it's going to go. This is the lowest sort of box in the bottom there, so it's going to mount in the front like this. Hopefully it'll be all good. The filler neck will enter from up in this sort of corner up here, so I'm going to use the factory filler neck wherever it is, probably around here somewhere. It's going to sort of go, you know, into here somewhere. So I'll have to make a bit of a neck here, so I'll have to cut out a hole and put a bit of tube in there, and hopefully I'll be able to use this O-ring on the original piece. We'll see what sort of eventuates with all that, but either way I'll adapt the original filler neck for it, just so that from in the engine bay it looks like nothing's been changed. So what do you learn from this, folks? Well, if you're interested in making stuff like this, and say for example you can't weld and you don't have any welding gear, but you do have the capacity to cut all this stuff out, mate, 90% of work in fabrication is actually making the shit to begin with, and welding it is you know, a very small percentage of the work. So if you can measure and cut stuff out but you can't weld, you can create something like this and take it to a welder and say, weld this up for me, you know, and he's only going to charge you for his time welding it up and a bit of gas and stuff, you know, and you're way in front, because to pay someone to fabricate a piece like this would cost you a friggin' fortune, whereas you can do it yourself and then just get someone to finish weld it for you. Fortunately, I can do both, but never mind. So might just test fit this just to make sure it's alright before I start welding it, and we'll have a bit of a look. Alright folks, this is where it goes. Just kind of goes in there like that from the back, and there's a factory mount here which I'll be using. I'll weld a tab on it there to mount it up this end. For the moment though, I'm just going to use tape. There's another factory mount on the side there. As I say, this is where the motor's going to go, on the front here, hopefully. Yeah, it looks like I've just got enough room for it, and that's how it kind of looks inside the wheel well area there. So the big thing's going to be if we can fit the inner wheel guard back on. Well, it does look like it's fitting, folks. That looks pretty bloody good to me. And you can see our original sort of block off template that we made sort of fits in there, so we'll continue that once we get this thing finalised. And you know, that's just sort of thrown in, but that just ends up in there like that. So we've kind of used up every speck of room that we have to get as much volume into that thing as possible. Sort of fallen down a bit there, but we'll fix that up. And yeah, hopefully it'll be all good. So I'll get it out, pull it all apart, clean it up, and weld it up, folks. I don't know whether I'll film any of the welding. You've seen me weld stuff before. I might just show you it when it's finished. Righto, I'll get all this apart. Right folks, most of the welding is complete now. As you can see on her, it's quite a thing. And it does fit, I've already checked it. But what I'm about to do is I'm about to pressure test the vessel. So I've got a little hole in the top here. That's hopefully where the filler neck's going to be. I drill that so that when I weld it up, obviously the air as it expands has a way out. So I've got a big tub of water set up. So let's pressure test it. Alright folks, I've got a rubber stopper on my air blower. I've got the workshop air set to about 20 psi. So what I'll do, I'll get this over the hole, I'll pump it up to 20 psi, see how we go. It's looking pretty good to me, folks. Oh, hang on, what's that? Oh no, it's just a bit of trapped air under it. No. Oh, we got something. Don't know if you can see it, folks. There's a little tiny spot of air coming out of here somewhere. I'll just go and run the TIG over that. See a little bit of a bugger of a spot. I wish I could get a better look at it. There's a little tiny pinhole just in the bottom of this weld. I'll go and just touch that up and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back after a quick repair. Now, that corner there. I should have put a bigger hole in this, folks, but I wasn't really certain of this position, so I kept it pretty small. Alright. Gotta say that's got full pressure behind it now. Does not appear to be any bubbles coming out from anywhere. So I'm pretty happy with that, folks. I think I'll call that done. I can't see any bubbles coming out of anywhere. Like I say, it's under 20 psi, so the fluid that's sitting in it isn't actually under any pressure. So if it won't leak at 20 psi, it shouldn't leak at all. Yep. Back to the bench. Right, folks, so the next thing that I have to do on this is mount the pump, which is going to be here. Weld some tabs onto it so I can mount it into the car, and do the filler neck, which is going to be kind of somewhere here, you know, somewhere there, and it should be sort of good to go from then on. So I'll get into those few things and we'll have another look. Bye bye. Right, folks, I'm back. A little bit more progress. You can see all our mounting tabs are welded on now, and it's actually bolted in position. So we've got this mounting tab over here. We've got another mounting tab sort of down in there. You can see our washer motor is now attached. You'll notice that there's a bit extra welding behind here. That's because there's an extra thickness. There's like a 2 or 3 mil piece of aluminium plate welded on over the top of this, because it's only 1.6, just to give a little bit more thickness where the washer motor mounts into, because it's, you know, it just gives it a little bit more of a sealing surface for this rubber grommet setup to work. We'll go around the back. That's what it looks like on the back side. You can see this extra mount that I made up here, which secures the thing in, so it's now bolted in 3 positions. And it's really super secure. Back to the front here, folks, you can see the other tabs that are on it. There's a tab here, another one here, another one here, another one here. Now these are all so that we can mount this other section that's going to be on there to enclose the air filter. Now where this guy sort of goes, that'll be going in there. And as you saw with the original cardboard piece that I made, that'll get sort of closed in, you know. So I just set these up so that we can set these with some rib nuts or some normal nuts, depending on how accessible it is, to create a mount for the rest of it. So we're actually using this as as sort of a structural piece to support the rest of it off now. So I haven't done the filler neck portion of it yet. I'll just take it off because it'll fall off. Yeah, I haven't done the filler neck portion of it yet, folks, just because I don't have a piece of aluminium tube in the right size. I've ordered some, but it's a few days away yet, so I'll probably just move back onto closing this area off here for the air cleaners. And I've also got the wiring to do for the washer motor and the outlet to bring through. Realistically, I think all I have to do is just bring those through from the inside. I think they may already be long enough, but if they're not, I'll just cut it and extend it and put the sort of the factory plug back on there. But I think this video has gone on for long enough, folks, so I think we might leave this here. We've achieved quite a lot. I'm pretty happy with this washer reservoir that I've made up, and next week we'll just continue on with it. So as always, folks, hope you liked the video so far. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Unfortunately, the way YouTube's working at the moment, comments are really super important. So even if you just say, I'm not leaving a comment in the comments section, that's classed as a comment, and it helps boost the video in the ratings on YouTube, so more people will get to see it. And if you like the content in general, folks, remember to subscribe to my channel. You can help support the Aussie Shed, PayPal, Subscribe Star, links in the description. And I hope you'll come back for the next installment of all the sort of brake ducting and air cleaner ducting that we're going to be doing. So I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.